The Blue Jays offseason is heating up fast, and we just had an incredible conversation that covers everything from Bo Bichette's market to Kyle Tucker's potential price tag to why Shane Bieber took what looks like a massive discount to stay in Toronto. We're breaking down the real insider perspective on what's actually happening behind the scenes. And trust me, some of this is going to surprise you. So the biggest question hanging over this entire offseason is obviously Bo Bichette. There's been more optimism from reporters about a potential Bo return than we saw with Vlad's extension talks last year. But here's the reality check we need. This time of year, you're going to see a ton of rumors that don't mean anything. Every team will be interested in players who are better than their worst current player. Of course, teams are interested in Bo Bichette. That doesn't actually tell us much. What does matter is the fit and the relationship. Bo has consistently said he wants to play in Toronto and wants to play with Vlad. He said it when he was young. He said it before Vlad's extension, and he said it after. He even said it standing in the clubhouse after the World Series. And this matters more coming from Bo than almost any other player because he's not someone who just talks to hear his own voice. He's respectful with media, gives you his time, but he doesn't want to hang out and chat. He wants to go take 10,000 ground balls. He's a machine. When Bo does talk, you have to listen to him and believe him. The Blue Jays genuinely have something here. They have a tiebreaker. Now, sentimentality only goes so far. It's not making him take $150 million in Toronto if someone else is offering $200 million. Maybe it makes up for $2 or $5 million, but not tens of millions. What the Jays have is motivation on Bo's part to find a way to make it work. If we get to a point where the Jays and two other teams are all in the same range money-wise, Toronto has that edge. You're going to hear a lot of stuff about front runners and current leaders over the next few weeks. It's all noise. That's not how the offseason works. Teams and agents feel each other out and stand around for a while, and then boom, there's a sprint. It's not a slow bidding war over 2 months. When the time comes for that sprint, we'll see where the Blue Jays actually value Bo. Here's something fascinating about Bo's potential decline as a defender and athlete. Some of that could be offset by the type of hitter he is. Bo can change his identity at the plate going into his 30s. He has the ability to choose what kind of hitter he wants to be. Instead of hitting .310 with 20 homers, maybe he hits .290 with 28 or 30 bombs. Very few players have that ability to shift shapes and mold themselves to what's needed in the moment. But Bo is absolutely one of them. The Willie Adams contract has been used as a comp forever, and that still feels about right, but the range is going to be massive, and position is a huge part of this conversation. Bo agreed to play second base during the World Series run on the verge of his own free agency. He knew that was already going to be a conversation with teams, and he went out there and played second on the biggest stage in baseball. That's not something guys do lightly when they're about to hit free agency and brand themselves. After tasting what it's like to play in a World Series, after seeing what happens when everything clicks with Jimenez at short and Bo at second, it's hard to imagine Bo wouldn't be open to that long term if the money makes sense. The money always needs to make sense, but the Jays have the tiebreaker, and after how the World Series worked out, everyone involved has to see the potential of that Jimenez shortstop, Bichette second base setup. Now let's talk about Kyle Tucker, because this is where things get really interesting. Kyle Tucker is a better player and a better fit than Bo Bichette. But the conversation isn't just Tucker versus Bichette 1-for-1. It's what could you get if you have $350 million? Do you want one Kyle Tucker or do you want Bo Bichette plus a great starter, a dominant reliever, and another bat? If all that money is there, and the belief is that it is, you're comparing more than just Tucker and Bichette. Tucker is a very good player. He's not an elite player. Juan Soto is elite. Shohei Ohtani is in another tier entirely. The Blue Jays went absolutely crazy making pushes for each of them because they believed those guys were truly elite, franchise-changing players. Kyle Tucker isn't that, and that's not a knock on him. There are only 8 or 10 of those players in baseball. The Jays will have the finances available to go after Tucker to a certain extent if they want to, but this isn't a market you chase the way you chase Ohtani or Soto. If you value Ohtani at $500 million and he goes to $700, you chase that number. Soto was worth chasing. Vlad was worth chasing, but Kyle Tucker is one where the Jays would probably be more traditional in sticking to how they value him And honestly, all those tired conversations about the Jays coming in second on guys, about the Canada factor, that's exhausted. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone needs to ignore that nonsense. It's over. The Blue Jays signed Vlad. They went to a World Series. No more of those conversations ever need to happen again. They've got the cash. They're an attractive place to play. Every single player, every partner, every kid calls this the greatest place on earth. There's nothing standing in the Blue Jays' way right now. It's just a matter of money. Do you want Kyle Tucker or do you want Bo Bichette plus a starter plus another piece? Which brings us to starting pitching, because this might actually be more important than anything else. The Blue Jays don't just need a starter. They need a long-term option in the rotation. They need to do what they did with Gausman 4 years ago, what they did with Berrios, trading for him and extending him, what the Red Sox did with Garrett Crochet. 1 year from now, Gausman is a free agent, Bieber is a free agent, and Berrios can opt out. Trey Savage looks great, but so do a lot of young pitchers. You can't bet everything on development. They need not just a starter, but someone they're locking up for 6 years. A big move. Yes, Bo Bichette is going to overshadow this whole offseason, but a starting pitcher, and a really good one, needs to be the number one conversation around this team. The Jays are coming off a run of 2 or 3 years where a lot has gone right in that rotation. No major injuries. Guys like Eric Loiziga stepped up. Development stories helped out. They need to prepare for a year closer to average where things do go wrong. When you look at the top of the free agent market, guys like Corbin Burns and Michael King and Ranger Suarez, they're very good pitchers, but you're not getting great ace-level stuff right away. There's more upside with someone like Roki Sasaki. You're chasing upside there. This starting pitching market is strange, and it's going to depend a lot on individual team tastes. There isn't a clearly defined 1 through 5 ranking. Each team would rank these guys very differently. But here's the thing about Blue Jays trades. They don't normally go after the obvious guy. Did anyone expect the Andres Jimenez trade last year? Did anyone see the Berrios trade coming? Did anyone think they'd trade for Luis Varland with 100 years of team control left? When the Blue Jays do their trade business, it's not for the names everyone's talking about. One way or another, they have to impact this rotation beyond 2026. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here a year from now talking about how they need 3 or 4 starters all at once, and that just doesn't work. Now, the Shane Bieber situation. People are treating this like Michael Jordan choosing to play baseball or something. There's been some wild sensationalization going on. Yes, it's very surprising that he opted into what amounts to a 1-year, $12 million deal after buyouts when he probably could have gotten 1 year, 18 or 20 million on the open market. But since Bieber arrived, he's talked at length about how much he likes Toronto, how much his wife likes it, how much he appreciates the Blue Jays staff and what they offer. Shane Bieber is really sharp. He sees what the Jays have done with Gausman, with Berrios, with Bassett and Robbie Ray, not just in terms of performance, but keeping them healthy. The Blue Jays have top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art facilities in Dunedin, Florida. This isn't just Bieber taking a bet on himself. He's betting on the Blue Jays. He's betting on their strength and conditioning people, on their pitching development, on their reputation. He's betting on probably pitching for a playoff team in the AL East on the big stage. If he wants to be at their complex tomorrow in Dunedin, he can be. Part of the reason the Jays poured over $100 million into that complex is because they want guys training there. Bieber can be right in the middle of that now. His training right now is different from Kevin Gausman's because Gausman's elbow didn't just get cut open and rearranged a year ago. If Bieber thinks he can go out and get a $200 million contract after a strong season, then the $5 million he potentially lost on this bet on himself is nothing. He could easily make all that back and more. And if he views Toronto as his best chance to enter free agency at the top of his game, it's worth some risk. And he's viewing this as an investment in his career and in his one opportunity to really cash in. One last thing about that World Series run, because it still stings. That room after Game 7 will be remembered forever. It's strange covering a team where you grow close to them over a full season, even though your job isn't to root for them. What matters is a good story, and that was one play away from being the best story of an entire career. 16 days later, and it still doesn't feel real. It wasn't just the tag play with Kiner Falefa. It was that catch on Ernie Clement's deep fly ball. the double up of Addison Barger at second base to end Game 6, which has been quickly forgotten but can't be. All these small plays and moments that were just stunning to watch. There were 5 or 6 or 7 things where it felt like fate was pulling in the other direction, and somehow it still wasn't enough. This was very easily the third best Blue Jays team of all time behind 92 and 93, but the way it happened makes this team so meaningful. They were not supposed to be good. In spring training, it looked like George Springer was toast. It felt like Vlad was going to walk. This season felt terrible in February and March, and it became the best surprise this city has ever seen in baseball. They grabbed an entire city because they surprised people, and people just plain loved them. That's what matters. This is a team that deserves to be celebrated and remembered forever, even without the ring. The offseason is here now, mercifully quick, and hopefully this team gives everyone a reason to be even more excited next year.